Greetings, sisters and brothers. This is Milton Alimadi, publisher of Black Star News. Visit blackstarnews.com. I'm also an adjunct professor of African history at John Jay College here in New York City. Take advantage of blackstarnews.com. It's a Pan-African publication, meaning if you like it, if you think there's some other stuff we need to be writing about, get in touch with me. Send me an email, malimadi@gmail.com. That's MALLIMADI@gmail.com. If you are a writer yourself and you think there's some things that we need to be writing about from anywhere in the world that affects the Pan-African community, get in touch with me. If there's some topic that we covered in a way that perhaps we should have come at it at a different angle, let us know about that as well. Take advantage. This is our publication. We are the ones that must tell our story. And I really mean it. So today, sisters and brothers, I want to just talk openly and send some Pan-African vibes, and hopefully in return, get back some Pan-African vibes from you as well. People always ask me, why are you always so optimistic given all the problems we have in African communities around the world? Very simply, our young people, I have a lot of faith and confidence in them. They're very imaginative, very creative. They just need to be given the opportunity. And I think they'll do an excellent job, a better job than we have in managing our own state of affairs. And it should be that way. I think every generation should do better than each successive generation. So let me speak on 3 topics today. I want to speak briefly on Black Panther, the film. And then I want to speak on the upcoming trip by Rex Tillerson, the U.S. Secretary of State, to Africa. I think his trip is from March 6th to the 13th. And he's going to visit Chad, he's going to visit Ethiopia, Djibouti, Kenya, and Nigeria, I believe. I believe those are the countries he's going to. But let me start with Black Panther, first of all. Many of you may have seen my editorial commentaries. I wrote about 3 on blackstarnews.com. It's been carried by other outlets. It's also been widely tweeted. It's also been posted on a couple of other Facebook pages, in addition to my own, of course. I like Black Panther in the sense that this is the first time where you see primarily a group of Black actors, from Africa, from the United States, and from Britain. They are the stars of this film. The film does a great job in terms of opening up the minds and the hopes and the dreams of young Black folks all over the world, because rarely do our young Black folks see Black heroes or Black superheroes. So in that sense, I like Black Panther. However, as I stated in my editorial, I did not like the fact that a character who played a CIA agent was given the role of rescuing Wakanda. I think that's unacceptable, even for a fictitious movie on screen. And I'll tell you why. Because our young people are very impressionable. So for those who may not be familiar with the history of the CIA, particularly in Africa, I think that does them a great harmful disservice. The CIA was instrumental in the chaos that we see in the Congo today. The CIA worked with Belgium to overthrow and then to mastermind the assassination of Patrice Lumumba in the Congo. And all Patrice Lumumba wanted was for Congo to be able to guide its own destiny and control its resources and get a larger share of its resources for the people of the Congo. Ironically, in that sense, it's very similar to what T'Challa wants for the people of Wakanda in the movie, to control vibranium, its resources. Well, Congo has all sorts of vibranium, coltan, copper, gold, diamond, timber, uranium, you name it. And that's been the reason why Congo has never been allowed to enjoy peace and stability. And it started with the plunder under King Leopold of the Belgians, and then continued after independence with the brutal assassination of Patrice Lumumba. I wondered, did the director of Black Panther not see the film Lumumba by Raoul Peck? It's flabbergasting. It's unacceptable. And then, of course, the CIA was involved in deposing Kwame Nkrumah in Ghana. And what did Nkrumah want? He wanted Pan-African unity. He wanted African countries to take advantage of their resources and to industrialize. And he said that's the only way that African countries can compete with the West and control their sovereignty. And what happened to him? Deposed in 1966 with the involvement of the CIA as well. Watch End of Poverty, the documentary, for some more details on that as well. And then in South Africa, the CIA was also instrumental in providing the tips to South African intelligence services that led to the arrest of Nelson Mandela when he was underground fighting against the apartheid regime. And then, of course, subsequently tried, convicted, served 27 years behind bars. Yes, he emerged, became a hero, was always a hero, became president of South Africa, died as a legend all over the world. But imagine, had he never been arrested, perhaps he would have been much more effective in guiding the liberation struggle from the outside. Apartheid might not have lasted that long. We don't know that. But anyway, the CIA was involved in his being arrested by the apartheid authorities. So I don't think it's acceptable to induce a storyline where a CIA agent becomes a hero in a movie that is supposed to empower and really open up the imagination of our young Pan-Africans globally. So I found that unacceptable. That would be tantamount to having an FBI character be a hero in a movie that is also directed where many of the actors are also from the African community, considering what the FBI did during COINTELPRO in decimating the Black national liberation leadership in these United States in the 1960s and the 1970s. So if that storyline would be unacceptable, why should a storyline where a CIA agent becomes a hero in Black Panther, how can that be acceptable? So that was the major beef I have, and I think it's a legitimate beef. On the other hand, I also wrote in my editorial, there is actually, from our pages of history, real life Black Pantheress and Panther. And then, of course, I recounted the story of the Battle of Adwa, the great victory by Ethiopia, the armies led by Empress Taytu and Emperor Menelik and several other Ethiopian generals in crushing the Italian army, an army of 17,000 led by 5 Italian generals, including Oreste Baratieri, defeated, crushed, annihilated at the Great Battle of Adwa, March 1, 1896. They eliminated almost 3,000 Italian soldiers, almost another 3,000, unfortunately, Eritrean soldiers who were fighting on behalf of Italy because at that time Eritrea had been colonized by Italy. Killed 2 generals, captured 1. General Baratieri, who had promised to go back to Italy with Menelik in a cage, ended up fleeing for his life. And that's how Ethiopia was able to maintain its independence, was never colonized. All right, so that's my part about the Black Panther. Let me speak briefly now on Tillerson's upcoming trip to Africa. Basically, Africa needs to determine its own destiny. So it doesn't matter whether a U.S. Secretary of State comes to Africa, whether a U.S. president comes to Africa. Africa should liberate itself from dictatorial regimes. We really must do that. in order to realize the dreams of Kwame Nkrumah, the dreams of Patrice Lumumba, to control our resources to build our economies? How is it that the continent that is the wealthiest resource-wise in the world continues to be the continent with countries that have the lowest general per capita income in the world, with no industrialization, when in fact our resources help Europe and now increasingly China and other Asian countries to industrialize? That's unacceptable. That means many of the folks that are managing the state of affairs are not doing the right thing in African countries. So yes, Tillerson will come to serve U.S. interests. The countries he's going to are the so-called partners with the U.S. in the fight against Islamic, quote-unquote, global terror. That cannot be the only issue in Africa. The issue in Africa is human rights, good governance, the rule of law, accountability, and democracy, and control of our resources. So whether it's Tillerson, whether it's any other Secretary of State, whether it's the U.S. President himself, we should guide our agenda. Every African that has some skills should lend their energy in ridding the continent of the dictatorial leaders that we still have in Africa today. I'm happy to say that Tillerson is not going to Uganda, which is a U.S. puppet under dictator Yoweri Museveni, who's invaded Congo and is now invading Congo again right now, invaded South Sudan, invaded Rwanda in 1990. Many people forget that perhaps had he not invaded Rwanda in 1990, the genocide of 1994 may never have occurred, right? So we need to put pressure. We've been putting pressure a lot on the U.S. administration. We've done many campaigns here effectively, in the media in particular, and we've been able to really highlight many of the crimes that Yoweri Museveni has committed in Uganda and regionally. So I think we're becoming more effective in isolating him, in making it difficult for the U.S. to conduct business as usual with General Museveni. In the past, it would be inconceivable that a U.S. Secretary of State would not start his trip by going to Uganda. Let's remember, Bill Clinton went to Uganda, right? Let's remember, George Bush went to Uganda, right? Those were the days. I think by constantly sending out the information about what is truly going on in Uganda, and of course now with social media, people have become very effective from Uganda sending this information, and us in the diaspora community also putting pressure on the State Department and in the White House, and I think it's finally bearing fruit. So the message here is, let's take control of our destiny so that African countries can truly, really enjoy Africa's resources for the benefit of Africans, not to develop Europe, the United States, and Asian countries. Sisters and brothers, that's my greeting for today. I send you positive vibes. May the Creator protect you and your family and guide you, and may the rest of 2018 be a successful year for all us Pan-Africans.